I live in a quiet neighborhood on the outskirts of Portland, Oregon. One of those streets where all the houses look the same, lawns are trimmed with military precision, and the mailboxes could have been cloned. People say it's a great place to grow up, but honestly, I've never felt like I actually grew here. It's as if everything stopped, including me. It's been months since I've been trying to figure out when exactly I stopped being part of the house and became just a guest who pays in silence. The room is small. In the corner, there's a box with the papers from the college fund, the money my dad left before he died. I remember him in fragments because he died young, and all that's left are 2 faded photos, a folded letter, and that fund, guarded by lawyers until I turned 18. Sometimes I stare at those documents and wonder what he'd think of everything. He believed he was securing my future, but the money became something heavy, almost a curse. My mom always said I should be grateful for it, and I am. But at the same time, I feel like a piece that doesn't fit into the puzzle of her new life. After she married Mr. Andrews, everything turned a bit performative. The house looks happy, but it's the kind of magazine cover happiness that only exists in Christmas photos. Her husband has 2 kids, a boy and a girl, and they treat me like the roommate who arrived too late. Dinner is always the same. My mom laughs at their jokes, touches her husband's arm, talks about her new decorating project. Sometimes she throws me a quick glance, as if suddenly remembering I still exist, and asks, "Everything okay?" just to keep the family choreography going. I think the worst part isn't being ignored. It's realizing they're perfectly fine ignoring me. When I was 8, before all this, we lived in a small apartment. It was chaotic, but it was ours. She made pancakes on Sundays and always burned the first one. She said the first one never comes out right. The sound of the coffee maker was the first noise of the morning. I sat on the edge of the chair and muttered a "good morning." No one replied. Nathan just raised an eyebrow without looking at me. Lily kept stirring her cereal until it turned to paste. My mom pretended not to notice and asked her husband if he'd paid the internet bill. I watched the small things, the way she turned her body toward him, how her smile lasted half a second longer than necessary. Sometimes it seemed like she was constantly begging to be accepted, even inside her own home. It was a Friday night, just after 7 p.m. I was in my room, scrolling through college spreadsheets, when I heard my mother's voice calling from the stairs, that overly sweet tone that never meant anything casual. I went down slowly, with the sinking feeling that something was wrong. She was in the dining room, sitting at the table with a folder of documents. Mr. Andrews sat beside her, eyes fixed on his tablet as always, but this time he seemed to actually be listening. "Can we talk for a moment?" she said, pointing to the chair across from her. I sat down. The open folder bore the logo of the law firm that managed the fund my dad had left. "It's about the fund," she began. "Nathan and Lily are about to apply to colleges, and your stepfather hasn't managed to save enough for both. So we thought maybe..." "You thought?" My voice came out louder than I meant. She took a deep breath. "Maybe you could use part of the fund to help them. Just until they get scholarships, you know? It's just for the family." The word family fell onto the table like a counterfeit coin. I stared at her, trying to process it. The fund was the only thing connecting my father to me, the last gesture he'd made to make sure I had a future that didn't depend on anyone else. And now suddenly, it was turning into some sort of shared resource? "Are you serious?" I asked. "Of course I am. Think about it, sweetheart. Your father would want you to be generous. He believed in unity." Hearing his name in her mouth felt like a blow. She never talked about him unless it served a purpose, and now she was using him as leverage. My dad left that money for me, specifically for me. She tilted her head with that motherly look that mixes pity and authority. "And he'd be proud if you used it to do something good. You'll have time to work, to build your path. They don't have that kind of luck." I looked at Mr. Andrews. He was still silent, but the way his fingers tapped the table made it clear he was waiting for my answer. Not as a request, but as a settlement. They can take student loans, like everyone else does. Her eyes widened, offended. "Do you hear yourself? They're your siblings." "No, they're your husband's kids." The words slipped out unfiltered. She blinked, once, twice, trying to process the cruelty of my honesty. Mr. Andrews cleared his throat finally. "You don't need to answer now. Just think about it. It's just a matter of empathy. Empathy. That pretty word people only use when it's convenient." My mom tried to smile. "I know this is hard for you, but that's life. We help the ones we love. We share." I stood up. "We share when it's family, and when it's mutual." She grabbed my arm, firm. "You're being selfish." "Maybe, but I'm fine with that. On my way back to the room, I climbed each step like someone escaping a fire. When I closed the door, my hands were shaking. I knew, without needing to hear it, that the conversation wasn't over. It was the kind of talk that comes back. Worse every time. Something was going to break. But at that moment, all I could do was try to remember my father's voice, and how he always said some things shouldn't be shared, because they were given with a purpose. And as much as I wanted to believe my mother, I knew this was one of those things. After that conversation, the air actually felt heavier. The first morning after the For the Family request was different. No one looked at me at the breakfast table, not even my mom. She spoke only to Mr. Andrews, using that rehearsed, sweet tone. Lily and Nathan whispered to each other, laughing at something on their phones. When I sat down, the conversation stopped. It was so obvious it almost made me laugh. Mr. Andrews cleared his throat as I got up to wash my plate. "You should try to understand your mother's point of view," he said, eyes still glued to the digital newspaper. I didn't answer. I washed my plate in silence. In the following days, the routine turned into a kind of slow punishment. If I walked through the hallway, conversation stopped. If I entered the living room, the TV volume went up. I had become a sort of unwanted noise, a constant reminder that I wasn't playing my part in the happy family script. On Tuesday night, I found a note on the kitchen table. "Think it through. Don't destroy what we built." I folded the paper and tossed it into the trash. What she called what we built had always sounded like something that didn't include me. At school, I started avoiding people. My friends noticed I'd gone quiet, but I didn't ask for advice. It was my problem, and I still thought I could handle it on my own. Little by little, I realized there was no longer a place for me in that house. My room became a bunker. I spent my days there, laptop open on university websites, my phone buzzing with notifications I ignored. On Thursday after dinner, my mom knocked on the door. "Can we talk?" I took a few seconds to answer. "Depends on what about." "The fund." I closed the laptop slowly. She came in, stood near the bed, but didn't sit. "You still have a week to think. I really hope you don't make the wrong decision." "Wrong for who?" I asked. "For all of us." The word "us" cut right through me. When she left, she didn't close the door. It felt like a countdown. Just over a week left until my birthday. 18. The age when everything's supposed to start. But here, everything felt like it was about to end. That night, I sat on the floor and made a list. Documents, clothes, laptop, savings money, no return plan. I folded the paper and placed it inside the box with the fund documents. For the first time, the idea of leaving didn't feel impulsive. It felt like survival. But the fear came too. A fear of opening the door and never hearing her voice say my name again. I stayed awake late into the night. In the dark, I whispered to myself, "I don't want to become the kind of person who keeps asking for permission to exist." Update 1. The night after that conversation, I wrote to a friend, one of the few who still bothered to ask if I was okay. Her name is Haley. I sent a short, no-drama message. "Can I call you?" She replied almost instantly. We went on a video call. I was sitting on the floor of my room, the camera trembling, my voice low so I wouldn't wake anyone up. I told her everything, every word, from the money request to my mother's ultimatum. Haley stayed quiet for a while. Then she said, "You can't stay there." She was right. We talked for over an hour, sketching possibilities. A room at her parents' house, maybe. A couch for a while. Then, if things worked out, find a small place. Share rent. She knew a cousin who was also moving for college and might agree to share an apartment in another city. As she talked, I opened my drawer and started stacking clothes. Jeans, t-shirts, jackets. Not because I planned to leave that night, but because, for the first time, the idea of leaving felt real. It was almost midnight when we hung up. The house was silent. I grabbed the box with the fund documents and checked everything. Copies, receipts, contracts, even the old letter from the lawyer. I put it all in a folder and placed it inside my backpack. I thought about writing my mom a note to explain, but what could I say? That she'd pushed me out? That I couldn't stand the version of family she'd built without me? That I still loved her anyway? None of those sentences could bear the weight of what was happening. The next morning, I skipped breakfast, waited until everyone left. Then I texted Haley, "I think I'll need to go before my birthday." "Okay, just tell me the day." "My parents already know you might come." My parents already know caught me off guard. I hadn't told anyone else, but somehow she'd done what I couldn't. Spoken for me. Over the next few nights, I started acting like a thief. Every time I did laundry, I'd hide one folded piece of clothing at the bottom of the backpack. I took small amounts of money I'd saved in an old box. Bills from birthdays, leftover change, scraps of allowance. All of that was now the foundation of my freedom. One night, My mom walked into my room unexpectedly. I almost dropped the backpack. She looked around, as if sensing the strange atmosphere. "Studying?" she asked. "Yes. You look tired." "I'm fine." She paused in the doorway, as if wanting to say something else, but gave up. When she left, I realized my palms were sweaty. At school, Haley and I spoke in code. "The project," she called it. "When does the project start? Do you already have an address for the project?" Sometimes I laughed. Other times I just pretended. 4 days until my birthday. I marked it on the calendar with a red pen, like counting down to a release. But fear was growing alongside it. One of the last nights, I stood in front of the mirror, backpack ready. I thought about all the versions of me that house had seen. The little girl waiting for praise, the teenager who learned to stay quiet, and now the almost adult leaving without making a sound. It was close to 11 p.m. when I heard laughter from my mom's bedroom, the sound of Mr. Guy Andrews' voice, Lily's laugh. I lay down, eyes open, and realized they wouldn't miss the space I took up. The day began gray. I woke before everyone, at 6:30. The alarm didn't even go off. The backpack was ready, clothes folded carefully in layers. I took the box where I used to keep my father's mementos and pulled out just one photo, the one where he's holding me on his shoulders, both of us laughing. I slipped it into my backpack pocket. The rest, I left behind. I went downstairs slowly. On the way to the door, I saw the framed picture of the new family. My mom, Mr. Andrews, Nathan, and Lily, all smiling in front of the fireplace. I wasn't in the picture. I picked up the frame, stared at it for a few seconds, then set it back down, upside down. In the kitchen, I left a short note. "I'll be fine. Take care of yourself." I didn't write Mom. The word felt wrong now. I opened the door carefully so it wouldn't make a sound. Haley was waiting in the car, parked a block away. When I got in, she just asked, "Are you sure?" "Yes." She nodded, and we drove off without speaking. Her house was about 20 minutes away, in a simpler neighborhood with smaller houses and wooden fences. Her parents were on the porch when we arrived. Her mother, a gentle-faced woman, opened her arms. "Come in, sweetheart. You must be freezing." The room I'd stay in was small, with a single bed. Haley showed me the rules. No lights left on at night, wash your own dishes, and always let them know if you'd be late. That night, we all had dinner together, something that felt impossible back where I came from. After dinner, I went to the room. I checked my phone. No message from my mom, no missed calls, and for the first time, I realized I didn't want to go back, even if she asked me to. In the first few days at Haley's house, I spent hours staring at my phone, too afraid to unlock the notifications. Haley kept urging me to eat, to go out, to try and distract myself, but I could only think about everything I'd left behind. How my mom hadn't sent a single message. How maybe she really was better off without me. Haley's mother, Mrs. Miller, was kind in a quiet, non-intrusive way. Still, I could tell she thought far more than she said. On a Saturday morning, she went out for groceries. When she came back, her face was tense, and the grocery bag hung from her shoulder as if the real weight she carried wasn't inside it. She set the bags on the counter and called me aside. "Sweetheart, I need to tell you something. I think I made a mistake." My heart sped up. "What happened?" "I ran into your mother at the supermarket. It was by accident. I recognized her. I remember her from a school event years ago. She recognized me too, so I started a polite conversation. I asked how she was and mentioned that you'd been staying here for a few days." I froze. "What else did you say?" "I told her you were safe, studying, trying to get back on your feet, and that the fund money was rightfully yours." The sentence hit like a blow. "Mrs. Miller," I began, but she interrupted, flustered. "I know. I shouldn't have said that. I thought if she understood it wasn't your fault, things would calm down." But her face changed. She turned red, shaking. "She said you'd betrayed the family, that you told strangers something that should have stayed inside the house. She thinks I've been talking about it to everyone?" She seemed convinced. "She said you exposed her and disrespected the home that raised you. I tried to explain, but she told me to mind my own business." I couldn't breathe. That wasn't just anger. That was her pride, wounded. My mother had never been able to stand being judged, especially by outsiders. That night, the calls began. First one, then another, then a string of them that wouldn't end. When I finally looked at my phone, there were over 10 missed calls and several messages. "Did you tell anyone about the money? Happy now? You've become the talk of the market? You exposed me. You betrayed your own family." Haley looked at me, alarmed. "It's her?" she asked. "Yeah. Do you want me to talk to my mom?" "No. That'll only make it worse." But deep down, I knew. It was already worse. My mother had always cared more about appearances than about things themselves. Now she was probably imagining the neighbors whispering in the aisles. To her, I hadn't just disobeyed. I had humiliated her. I went to bed unable to sleep, my head full of memories of her saying, "Family comes first." But what she called family always came with a condition. It only counted as family if you obeyed. Update 2. The doorbell rang at exactly 10 p.m. Haley and I were in the living room, trying to pretend things were normal with a bowl of popcorn between us. The first ring froze us, the second came right after. Longer, more insistent. Mrs. Miller appeared in the hallway, wiping her hands on her apron. "Are you expecting someone?" I looked at Haley. She shook her head. "No, but I knew." I stood up slowly. Before I could say anything, Mrs. Miller went to the door. As soon as she turned the handle, a voice said, "I want to talk to my daughter." My mom was there. Hair hastily tied back, face pale. Mrs. Miller tried to stay calm. "Maybe this isn't the best time." "It's the time I chose." She stepped inside without being invited. "Why are you here?" I asked. "To look you in the eye and see what you've turned into." Haley stepped forward. "Ma'am, maybe it's better to talk tomorrow." "Stay out of this!" she shouted, not even looking at Haley. "Mrs. Miller spoke firmly. "This is my house. You can talk, but no yelling." "Oh, so now she's got a borrowed mother too?" It was always like this. 3 sentences were enough for her to turn anything into humiliation. "You embarrassed me, you know that." "I didn't say anything, Mom." "You did! That woman at the market didn't make it up. She said the money was yours, that I was stealing. What kind of daughter talks about that with strangers? She was just trying to help, and you let her. You let people judge me, point at me like I'm some kind of monster." Her anger was a living thing. I could see her hands trembling, the veins standing out on her neck. When she got too close, Mrs. Miller reached out to touch her shoulder. "Please, keep some distance." "Don't touch me," she yelled, slapping the woman's hand away. Haley stepped between us. "Stop," she said. "You're going to hurt someone." "Hurt someone?" My mom laughed. A hollow laugh I'd known since childhood. "She's already killed me with shame. And now you want to lecture me? I just wanted you to understand that I needed to leave. You needed to obey." The words came out like a sentence. Mrs. Miller quietly picked up the phone. "Don't call anyone," my mom snapped, noticing. "I need to make sure no one gets hurt." At that moment, Haley grabbed my arm and pulled me back. I let her. My legs were shaking. "So you're really letting strangers run your life?" my mom asked. "Is that what you wanted? For everyone to see me as the villain?" "I didn't want any of this, Mom." "Yes, you did. You wanted to punish me." Her tone changed. Lower, but more dangerous. "You're coming home now." "No." Silence. "Say that again," she demanded. "I'm not going back." She took a step forward, but Haley moved in front of me again. "That's enough. Please leave." For a second, I thought she was going to do something. Anything. But she just looked at me. "You'll regret this." Then she turned and slammed the door behind her. We stood frozen. Mrs. Miller hung up the phone that was still in her hand. "She would have hurt someone," she said, her voice trembling. I could only reply, "She already did." I sank to the floor, too weak to stand. Haley brought me a glass of water. The neighbor across the street must have heard the argument. 2 police cars pulled up outside. No sirens. Just the blue and red lights flickering through the windows. The door opened slowly. One of the officers stepped inside first. Calm voice. Steady steps. Someone called about a family dispute. Mrs. Miller stepped forward. "It's okay now." But my mother, who was still in the car, came back and interrupted. "I'm the mother. I'm here to take my daughter home." The officer looked at me. "Do you want to go with her?" I looked at him, then at my mother. "No." The other officer stepped closer. "Then, ma'am, you need to leave." She took a step forward, her expression firm. "You don't understand. She's my daughter, and you need to respect her decision." For a moment, I thought she was going to scream, but she didn't. She looked around, at Haley, at Mrs. Miller, at me. "You turned everyone into a witness. Congratulations." And then she left. The patrol lights faded slowly down the street. I stood still, hands still shaking. Haley hugged me. Mrs. Miller closed the door. No one said anything for a long time. Later, when we were sitting in the living room, Mrs. Miller broke the silence. "Will she come back?" "She'll try. I never wanted it to come to this. I didn't want to expose anyone or cause trouble. I just wanted peace." Haley held my hand. "You didn't do anything wrong. Maybe I did. Maybe I stayed too long trying to prove it wasn't my fault. I went to bed late, heart still pounding. The change happened fast, almost too fast to feel. In less than a week, Mrs. Miller helped me pack the few things I had. Clothes, books, a notebook filled with scattered notes. Haley took a weekend off to drive me to the college town. It was a 2-hour trip. When we arrived, the building was simple. On the 3rd floor, Aaron, Haley's cousin, was waiting. A biology student, messy bun, a smile that didn't judge anything. "So you're the half-lost new tenant," she joked. Something like that. The apartment had 2 bedrooms, a tiny kitchen, and a couch that sagged in the middle. Classes started 3 days later. The campus was huge, full of voices, hallways, and colorful posters announcing study groups and parties I wasn't ready to go to yet. You're safe, but what if she shows up? She won't. What if that's a lie? It went like that. A constant conversation between fear and the will to move on. I picked up the new key from the table. Small, simple. But at that moment, it felt like the most important thing I'd ever held. Time passed in a strange way. It just passed. One random Saturday, I decided to clean my phone. Deleted chats, photos, old call logs. When I reached my mom's name, I stopped. My finger hovered over the block button. It wasn't revenge. It was necessity. I pressed it, closed my eyes, and took a deep breath. For the first time in a long while, I didn't think about going back or proving anything, just moving forward.